Hello there everybody and welcome back to Quest 64. Last video we came on through Barragoon Tunnel into this new desert area. And if I pull up my map, you will see that this area is known as Dindom Dries. And just by looking at the map, it looks a little bit barren. There's not a whole lot here in comparison to some other parts of the game. However, looks can be deceiving. There's a secret area that we're going to be going to. We still have to loot the desert and get acquainted with some of the enemies here, so those are all things I'm going to be doing before we continue on with the story. So first thing you want to do after you come out of Barragoon Tunnel, of course, is come to the little hut and rest, which we did in the last video, and we collected the first of 3 spirits over here in this pot. The reason it's really important to rest at this guy's tent is because if you were to die here, the game would send you all the way back to Limlin, and we currently don't have a pair of wings to bring us back to this area. So you would be forced to go all the way back to Limlin and come all the way back through Barragoon Tunnel, which I would hate to see happen to anybody. That would just be absolutely horrible. Second thing is that I'm traveling by night. Simply for the reason that it's easier to see spirits. You may be able to actually see one in the background right now. There's only 2 of them to collect, but they are very hard to see because the sand is yellow and the sun is very bright, and the spirits are white, of course. So that all in combination makes things really difficult to see. So as we head over to the spirit, let's start talking about some of the enemies. These guys here are the first of 4 new enemies that we're going to be seeing. These are the sand men, and I would probably say that they're the most difficult in this area, just for the simple fact that that rock attack is nearly impossible to avoid. I've seen it done, and I've done it a couple times just by fluke, but these guys I find have a lot of HP, and that they're hitting for nearly 40 damage a turn, which is a lot, especially considering I have 200 HP, and there's 2 of them versus me. A good trick with them is to get them to come close to you. At close range, they use their fists instead of the rock attack, and they only do about 15 damage. So that's a good strategy if you're stuck on those enemies, and that's probably what I would recommend. Second on the list, we have the werecat, which is a very grotesque monster of sorts. It's almost like they tried to go the sexy route, but they just failed miserably. These enemies are using fire, and they have both a long range and a short range fire attack, and they do around 30 damage a turn, so again, they're very devastating. So what I like to do with them, because most of the time I can't really avoid them, is I just like to go up and whack them with my staff, and they're usually done in about 3 turns. That way I conserve my MP, and I take them out as fast as I can. In a big group, large cutter or wind cutter might be a good idea. Water spells and ice spells work really well for the enemies in this area, because all of them are going to be using fire or rock. In with the sand man, we have the blue man, or the blue men, since they're in a group. Again, nothing too special, very similar to the werecats. They're just going to use a fire attack, but they're very weak, so I don't generally find them to be overly threatening. I like to stay at a distance and use wind cutter or large cutter if I can, and again, I can usually take them out in 3 turns, 4 turns. The only problem with these guys is that I find they come in large groups, usually 3 or 4 at a time, and in combination with the Sandman, that can be really dangerous. So I'll probably run away now that my HP is getting dangerously low and my MP is getting dangerously low. And I'm going to finally claim my spirit as a prize here before I continue on. I'm going to put my points into wind and heal up a little bit. I did do a little bit of grinding off screen after the last video, because when I first came in here, these enemies were quite a bit more powerful than they are now. The gap between Barragoon Tunnel and Dindom Dries is quite large, I find. You really have to do a lot of grinding to be able to keep up to these enemies, in my opinion, especially if you have low MP, just because you drain your MP so fast. But that's just me personally. Some people may not have a problem with this area, especially if they have their wind element maxed out or something like that. You know, they can really do a lot of damage. So in this house here, we have a guy we can talk to. I hate war. That's why I ran away. But it is lonely here in the desert so far from town. Long ago, when we all got along and lived in peace, this was a green valley. But now, I've heard that a lush and beautiful kingdom still exists to the south. Can it be true? Alright, so that's a little bit of a hint, but not really at the same time. He's kind of foreshadowing. There is something to the south, and we're going to go and check that out. That's our next destination. I'm going to do a few laps around this guy and regain some of my MP. This is another safe area where you can recharge your batteries before going back out and facing against the enemies. So now that I'm completely fully charged, we're going to be going into the vast desert wasteland. I'd like to just pull up my map again for a quick minute. As you can see here, the southern part of the map really doesn't have anything on it, and that's because it is all desert. It's desert for as far as the eye can see. There's one lowly spirit hidden in this area. It took me so long to find this spirit, but I have a good idea of where it is. And if you go out of the boundaries of the map, it will actually send you back to the beginning. So it's kind of similar to the wasteland in Zelda. If you go the wrong way, you're going back to the beginning. So to start out with, I am going to be traveling to the southeast. And by doing that, it's going to bring us directly to the middle of the map. And that's where our spirit is going to be. So I'm going to just keep periodically checking my map for when I hit the middle part of it. And this is our fourth enemy, our last one. This is the Nightmare. These are flying enemies who, again, use fire attacks. At close range, they use Fireball, and I find that at long range, they use an attack that is used to silence you. And if you're silenced, you can't use any magical attacks. It's actually kind of nice when they use that attack though, because 9 times out of 10 they miss, and it doesn't do any damage. So if I get in a big battle with a group of nightmares, I find that it's a lot easier than facing a big group of some of the other enemies, simply for the fact that they're trying so desperately to silence me that they're just wasting a lot of time, and I'm able to have a lot of damage output. I'm just going to check my map. I'm still way off. This desert seriously goes on forever, so it's going to be a long walk, and hopefully it stays nighttime so that I'm able to see the spirit. It's not like it's impossible to see, it's just a lot easier. And I think a lot of people just skip this spirit entirely because it's such a pain. But I actually got very lucky because here it is. I just managed to stumble upon it. And for everybody's reference, I'll just pull up the map. It's right smack dab in the middle. So just keep that for your reference. And now that I have picked this up, I'm feeling very victorious. I'm going to put another point into wind. I'm going to heal up. And then we are going to be heading towards our secret area. So on the horizon, there is a floating crystal of sorts, which is a little odd. And that's definitely something we need to check out. So that's going to be our next destination now that we have picked up everything here in the desert. And as you get closer, you can actually see that it is a little shrine of sorts, which is actually pretty cool. This is a completely optional area, and if you hadn't bothered to search the southern part of the desert, you would actually never find this. And if you step in, it's actually a teleporter to whatever this is. It's like a big, fancy, almost Coliseum type area. It's very cool, and it is absolutely rich in treasure. There are tons of spirits and tons of treasures to pick up here, and we'll be maxing out the wind element. So the first spirit that you can see as you step off is to the left of the staircase. Now this one is insanely tricky to get because you have to actually follow invisible walls to get to it. So there's an invisible wall over here on the right side of the screen, and by walking on it, you should be able to find your way around the outside here. Again, I don't know if this was something that was originally intended to be gotten, like maybe it's an extra one, I don't actually know, but it seems really strange that they would deliberately put a spirit in a place that you couldn't get to, because the only way to get to that one is to use this invisible wall, which I always found really, really strange, but again, that's just me personally. So once you feel your way around there, and you grab that spirit, you want to come up to the staircase and go to the left. This area has a bunch of levels, and on each level there's usually a spirit or a treasure or both to collect. And there's gonna be a spirit to the back of this first level here. This is gonna be a lot of walking, so I apologize. A lot of walking to grab one thing, and then a lot of backpedaling to get to somewhere else. So here's another spirit. I'm just going to keep putting them into wind until it's maxed out, and then I'll work on maxing out rock as well. I wish Brian could walk faster, or I could tap a button to make him move faster, but unfortunately I can't. It's kind of nice that it's night out here. It gives this place a sort of cool environment, in my opinion. So now we're actually going to go inside the pyramid, if I can ever get back to the entrance. That would be just great, thank you. Alright. So up the stairs we go. And I do believe there's also a spirit here. I don't know where, whether it's on the side or on the back side again, but we better go and take a look. So I definitely do recommend visiting this place, simply for the fact that you'll miss out on a ton of spirits. Not to mention that there are some really cool treasures in here. And I think it's really funny that the game put in an optional area, just because I think this is actually the only optional area in the game. And apparently there wasn't a spirit there. I thought that there was. Maybe I missed it. If the count is off by the time I leave, I'll come back out. But anyways, alright, inside the pyramid we go. And up the first set of stairs to a new level with 9 treasure chests. So we are going to be busy. Let's take a look here. We've got a healing potion, which heals all of your HP, I do believe, or 150. One of the two. A replica. We also get Spirit Light. chest number 4. Salene's Bell, which is used to silence enemies, if I remember correctly. I can always take a look at some of these items because I forget what they do. Dragon's Potion, another healing potion, heals all your MP. Silver Amulet increases your defense. And here we have a Dewdrop, which is a crappy treasure. 10 MP recovery. And another pair of giant shoes. We just got some earlier on in the episode. And the last chest, if I could open it, Brian, thank you. That would be great. Contains a silent flute. And then of course we've also got 2 spirits here that are rich for the taking, so let's go ahead and take those. And continue on. It doesn't matter which staircase you take, because they both lead to the same area. And again, I need to make a huge circle around this area. So this spirit is here on this level. And now that I've collected that, I can go up to the highest level of the pyramid. I just need to find the stairs. Here it is. And I'm just gonna check around this perimeter for another spirit. I've now maxed out wind at 50, so now we can work on maxing out the rest of them, which is pretty exciting. I like that. And there's actually a person up here, so I better talk to him. This is Lavar. What have we here? No one has found this phantom city in 1,000 years. I am Lavar. I once held the Eltel book, but when I opened it to unleash its incredible powers, I was not worthy. The only powers I could control were those of famine and destruction. I could hate, but not love. I could terrify, but not inspire. Finally, the great magician Epona came to my rescue and freed me from the curse of the Eltel book. But my penance is that I have been exiled here alone for eternity, or until the evil that we call Mammon is defeated. Only then will I find my final peace. You, with the precious gems of untold power, are my only hope. The only one who can free both myself and all of Seltland from evil. Whoa, Lavar, you're, hanging some heavy stuff above me there, man. Getting a little intense up in here. So there's 4 spirits to grab along here and a chest. Now, Lavar mentions Mammon, which is a name that we've heard twice now. Shilf mentioned that she was waiting for Mammon, but it's not yet been explained really who he is. But I gotta say that Lavar is really the most magician-type looking person that we've seen so far. I mean, he actually looks pretty epic and magician-like. But unfortunately, like he said, he's exiled here. No one knows this place exists. It's kind of been lost, and he's stuck here for all of eternity, so... kinda sucks to be you. Sorry to hear that and all. But I guess if I get the Eltel book back, then I will also save him. All the more reason to complete my quest. Anyways, that's it for this area, for Shamwood. I'm just going to end the video off here. It's a little bit long. I wanted to do this area and the desert in 2 separate videos, but I just ended up doing them, you know, in one video. So I'm going to just do a double take, make sure I got all of the spirits before we go, and after this, we will be continuing on with the story. So thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I'll see you next time.